Welcome to the 64 doors. Today we are in the 61st door with the Mystic Archetype, and we have the unique pleasure of having Bella be the featured ambassador for this door. She happens to have 61 predominantly in her gene key and human design chart. Hello, Bella, and thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Bella's also the co-creator of the 64 Doors, so you see her videos around, you know who she is. Bella, where do you have the 61st energy in your design?
So it is my SQ, my design Venus, and then it's also my design South node. So we could say that my soul kind of has, it has lived it before, and now it's coming in and it's kind of taking it in its heart, you could say, and it's in a much more central, very very central position in the hologenetic profile. So it's really part of that pathway of breakthrough, but it's also part of the pathway of individuation, and then it's the pathway between the core, the realization, and also the pathway of love between the EQ and the SQ. So it's really kind of in the middle of the mix of everything.
Yeah, it's smack dab in the middle of the chart. So the SQ is the center of the hologenetic profile. It's also the fourth line, your 61.4 in the SQ. So how do you feel that the SQ is already the heart? I mean, it's the body when you're first born and figuring out what you love, how to be in a physical body, and then when you're coming back through the Venus stream, that's the heart. And you have to kind of unlock this to be able to get into that transformation in your vocation. So what's your experience with this being a fourth line in your SQ and it being kind of the doorway before your vocation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember I listened to Richard's, I think it's not the 64 ways, but it was something that he did, the 64 words of love or something, and it wasn't the SQ and the lines. And I remember just having so much just recognition of like what it is to have it to be a fourth line in the SQ. And he spoke about sweetness, because it says it's like it's community and kinship or something. Like, oh, I don't remember what the key word is, but that resonated so much and I felt so home. And he said also, that people with the fourth line, these are the people when they die, they have all these people coming to their funeral. And it's I feel like that sweetness that is there in the fourth line really, first we kind of have to find it in our own life, but once it's there, once we've healed part of the inner child, and the cell memories that can be from the age from 0 to 7 that is in that position, like that kind of sweetness starts to kind of crack through, and then we naturally just want to share it with the world. And we really have, I think that it's this inherent like longing for the world to be a sweeter place. So I can feel that, and I also recognize other people when they have the fourth line. I kind of feel it in there. And then I, of course, being a 4/6 profile, I guess that's also resonance and your fourth line vocation. So it's in there, but it's for sure it's reinforced, and I think it has that networking capacity too, because it does it from the heart. So then it becomes like really, yeah, it's really like an asset to have a fourth line in the SQ, I would say.
Mm-hmm. How would you weave the 61 with the fourth line and being in, like, how is those frequency bands related to the heart, or how do you feel that expression of the 61 through your heart?
Mm-hmm. So what we say with the SQ is that shadow frequency doesn't really exist actually, because when we're children we're pure. So when we experience the shadow frequency, it kind of comes from our parents, especially our mom, because it's like the form that we come in through. So that shadow frequency of psychosis of the 61 is something that you experience through your parents many times. And my mom, she had health issues when I was a child, so it was always like why, and trying to figure out in a very mental way why those symptoms were there. So I grew up with that, and part of that could be, part by the environment I was in and the relationships that could have been imprinted. It that could have been, my shadow way of expressing it, and that would have also not allowed me to be in the heart, because the 61 is in the head center. For me, the head center is open, and to be always worrying with your mind and asking why would not allow you to be in your SQ and in your true design, and for sure not in the fourth line. So for me, it's been that journey from like trying to figure out things to understand that I have the 61 in an open head center, and it's just when I let go that the inspiration can come through, and you can see that that 61 is in the middle of the body graph, and also the SQ is in the middle of the body graph. So somehow it's like when I open up and when I allow, instead of trying to figure out, when I allow the wisdom or the mystery or whatever it is to come through, it just goes right through that middle gate in the head center, right down into the SQ, and then it's just that, and that becomes a communication. So what I feel is like the heart speaks with a great mystery, and that is a dialogue that can only be there, or that I can only hear if my mind is more quiet and doesn't try to figure out why or what.
Mm, yes. Um, I had a question that I was going to ask. Oh, I found it curious too that I think I read somewhere that the 61 was like an individual, like it was like an individual circuit or gate or something like that, and it was just that it was saying that you're going to have ideas and mysteries that may not be accepted by other people. So it's like a very individual thing. And since it's in your heart, the thing that you are inspired by is deeply connected to your heart. Like you hold it in your heart. So it's interesting that you work with Gene Keys and human design, because they are pretty new systems, and it's
Mhm.
starting to become a little bit more mainstream. So now that you have that connected to your heart, you're able to inspire other people to go into that, and you're sharing that mystery with them. So I just found that kind of interesting there. What other things are you interested in that you feel that you hold dear to your heart that maybe have to do with that 61, because it is the archetype of the mystic? So what kind of mysteries do you have?
I feel kind of, you have the 16th in your design and I have too, but it's kind of that thing. It's not so much what, it's kind of, it like colors anything. I can be inspired by so many things. And sometimes with that open head center, I can also take other people's ideas or dreams and become super inspired by them and start kind of acting on them or creating from them. So it's more of like, what is mine, what is my inspiration, and how to speak that and how to share that truth, because that's the fourth line. It wants to share its truth, it wants to come across to the other. um, I feel like it is a kind of feminine right brain creative um, gate, so it goes more to like the dancing or the music and the poetry of the Gene Keys, for example. That's where I see it a lot. And I also see it through some of the body work that I've been, exploring and studying. That it comes through the mystery, through the form, and it's also through, yeah, through the densest sometimes comes the most subtle. So it's a mystical gate, and it's you really want to be not stuck in your logical mind. That is the 62, that's the programming partner. So they are very, very different, and especially for me, I do have the 62 as well. So I feel like it's a dance between both of them. um,
Thank you for sharing that. You said you did have the 62, and it is the programming partner. So how do you feel like that either supports it? We know that that if it's staying in its head, then obviously it's going to prevent you from remaining in your heart in that SQ. So where do you have the 61 in your design?
So these are my south node and my north node on the design side. So somehow the north node is like, either I feel a little bit like that. Either you don't access it at all because you're kind of stuck in the shadow of psychosis in this case, or you are able to transcend that shadow and then suddenly you have access to the gift frequency of the north node. So I feel like in my case, there's not so much conflict between them. And also the 62 is my throat center, and I have the 731, for example, like it's a defined center. So I feel like it doesn't create so much havoc, but it has the potential of becoming really precise. And if we think about it, maybe what I knew about the Gene Keys or human design 5 years ago when I was younger, like the closer I come to my north node, like to 45 or whatever, when I really can access it, then the more precisely I'm going to be able to use these systems, and I can really go in and kind of psychic surgery things. So I do see, even like I said, in the other modalities that I'm using, like I'm becoming more and more and more precise, so that it's faster, and like it's that kind of like not only light language, but I feel like light or laser wants to kind of pierce in the right place. And that's how I feel, that's what I do feel my soul has part of that mission, so this is, we can't really know because it's on the design side, but I have a feeling around it.
Yeah, and your vocation is 57, so I would trust that feeling around it too. And I'm always amazed at how you can do those 5-minute videos and explain something so precisely, and then it's done. And I'm like, geez, that was like 5 minutes. It's like, I think that you're correct, where it's just going to get easier and easier to explain it and refine it and be like really poignant about it, and like, here's this, but like still be inspired, It's not cut and
Mm-hmm.
dry. It's inspired, precise downloads and wisdom. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about the mystic archetype?
I mean, it has its side where it's like it says occult knowledge, right? So it has this side that is very shamanic, and where I think, especially when it's paired with a lot of Scorpio, and for me, the 28th is my pearl, and it's also my conscious moon. So to have, when you have the Scorpio energy and the risk taking, it kind of takes you to sometimes like dark places, because I feel like very much is the vessel. Sometimes it's actually kind of empty, but it's that vessel for where knowing comes through, and the knowing of, like, in a way, the multi-dimensional knowing, because we know the head center has that, especially 61 gate has, it's the doorway to what we can't see, what we can't touch, and what's the bigger realms. So that's what I would say. It's like, it's not only inspirational in the like super happy way. Sometimes it goes really deep and really far, and then it can, like, we don't really know what it's going to bring back. And that's where I feel also, when you have it in your heart, your heart becomes like a catalyst for whatever comes through. So yeah, I think that, and I think that's the thing. It make the mystic is a shaman. It uses light, or it uses precision, or it uses, the great mystery to kind of, to, like, as a wave, to go and to transform and to understand and to touch. That's what it's medium that it uses, and it's just actually kind of a pathway. It just opens that direct line, or that vessel from like through which things can pass through. um,
Yeah, and it's curious that I love that you said vessel, because on the mandala and in the transit, the next one coming through is the 60. So it would make sense too that it's learning how to do that, and it's almost 16 and 61 are like inverted numbers, and it like uses its versatility for what is it going to put through this vessel, because it's like that's where the inspiration comes through, that's where the knowledge and wisdom comes through, and it's like however you do it, like through the light language, because 62 is also the language of light. So it's like whatever goes through this vessel, so you're just putting through. And I think it works
mhm.
well with the open head center as well, because that's open as well. And it's through the
Mhm.
heart. So it's linking your heart to your head already. It's like, here's the vessel, and it goes straight to your heart. So,
Yeah.
that's curious and kind of cool. A cool design. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience with the 61 and being our featured ambassador for this door. And yeah, thank you so much, Bella.
Thank you, Ashley.